Welcome to the world first Customer Catalyst Conference with platinum sponsor Influitive, the industry-leading platform for mobilizing customers and advocates using content targeting, gamification, engagement, and rewards. Find out more about Influitive at the link on screen right now. The Customer Catalyst Conference works like this. The conference is hosted on Influitive's interactive platform. Each presentation runs for about 30 minutes. If you're watching at the advertised time on Wednesday 18th November, you can live chat with the presenters. Send your questions to top executives from Zoom, Slack, Cisco, Signify, the world leader in lighting, plus many more, all in real time. If you miss a session, all will be available on demand right after we finish. Please share your comments and feedback on social media via our Twitter feed at The Cust Catalyst and via our LinkedIn Customer Catalyst Showcase page. That's how the Customer Catalyst Conference works. Welcome, enjoy the presentations, and thank you for joining. I'm delighted to introduce Chris Adlard and Daniel Borsa, co-authors of the Customer Catalyst and co-founders of the Sea Change movement. Chris is a multi-award winning customer experience, customer success and marketing leader and has worked in customer transformation roles for more than 20 years. Daniel has over 25 years experience as a strategic B2B and B2C customer champion. Chris and Daniel will take us through the Customer Catalyst and reveal what they mean by the sea change and where the customer economy is leading us.
Welcome to the customer economy. The product-led sales era is truly over, and there's been a fundamental power shift to customers. Pre-digitization and social media, customers had little choice. They might be able to go to some of their peers in the industry or an industry association, but that was about it. Fast forward now, and that is completely changed. The customer has the power, and whether it be in business to business or business to consumer. In August 2019, there was a seismic moment in the business world where 181 CEOs of the most profitable customer-led organizations from Apple to JP Morgan came together and said that their purpose was no longer in terms of short-term shareholder value, but they shifted to focus on investing in employees and delivering customer value, which is quite significant.
The thing is, there's nothing new about being customer-centric. This idea has existed for decades. Think about even back to 1960. Theodore Levitt wrote the seminal article called Marketing Myopia, and he said it's important that the business puts the customer into every nook and cranny of the organisation. So that has not changed. And this whole thing is being reinvented decade after decade. The difference now is not the need to be customer-centric, it's the urgency. And so now businesses have to react much quicker to the needs of the customers in order to drive growth. Look at Amazon. They've completely disrupted every single industry out there. They are relentlessly focused on delivering a great customer experience. And it's that Amazonification that you see across every industry that is driving change. This is especially true now during the pandemic, which is forcing the move to digitization. So businesses that can really understand that are those that are doing well. This is true in both B2B and B2C.
So we launched the Customer Catalyst a year ago, and the word is really starting to spread. We've spoken at high-profile business events, we've been published in the media, and also, with your help, we have got 5-star Amazon reviews. And today, what we want to do is galvanise leaders to think differently about centering the whole organisation around the customer, breaking down those traditional silos in order to pursue great customer experiences.
A sea change is what we've described as a model for transformation. How business leaders can orientate their whole organisation around the customer. It comprises 10 parts, or as we call, growth drivers. Most organisations are on a journey to become customer-centric. So we wouldn't expect every organisation to do all 10 things at once. And actually, it's the complementary activities across the sea change that will really make the difference. After all, we don't want to create more silos across the organisation. Let's look at the sea change drivers one by one. Firstly, voice. Many organisations today run an annual NPS survey. And whilst NPS is important, it's definitely not the silver bullet for understanding what customers are saying. We really need to listen to customers real time through different channels, constantly listening to them and understanding how to drive growth. Some people say that NPS is dead. We don't think it's dead, but we don't think it's a silver bullet for growth. Culture is the next sea change driver. As we know, culture eats strategy for breakfast, and culture is what really gets customer centricity into the hearts and minds of every employee across the organisation. Work with HR, build those transformation programs, and maybe appoint a chief customer officer, because the chief customer officer is the eyes and ears of the customer at the executive level driving that transformation. We move on then to experience. When you look at the customer experience, that means understanding the journeys that the customer takes with your organisation. Irrespective of the silos that they're interacting with, it's very important to understand how every different type of customer goes through a journey with your organisation. You might run workshops, ethnographic studies. There are a number of ways that you can do that to really understand what the customer feels and thinks as they interact with your brand. The fourth sea change driver is technology. Building a 360-degree view of your customer with the many platforms, solutions and data that your company has is critical. Even something as simple as consolidating CRM systems is key to growth. And then allied to that is the digital experience. We talked earlier about the fact that every industry is digitizing. Some businesses are pure digital, for example, digital banks or software organizations. Either way, the journey that your customers take that we talk about in the customer experience sea change driver needs to be reflected in the way that your companies and customers interact digitally with you.
So the sixth sea change growth driver is customer success. Been phenomenal uptake in this as an area where the customer success manager is now the orchestrator of the customer experience across all of those silos which we are trying to break down in the sea change.
Customer health. In the past, people would rely on surveys to understand what customers saw and felt. Now, with customer health, it's much easier to measure objectively, in a normalised way, across the entire customer life cycle, how customers are behaving and thinking and doing, and often to predict things that will happen in the future before the customer even realises it. Customer engagement. There are multiple ways that any organisation can engage with its clients, whether digitally or in person. And there are platforms out there, such as Influitive, that allow that multi-channel, constant customer engagement to work the muscle harder between the relationship of the customer and the organisation.
So co-creation is literally co-creating with your customers in terms of products and services. And during the pandemic, the organisations that have seized upon co-creation are really stealing a march, where they're almost coming as one with their customers to achieve growth. So ultimately, we get to the sea change growth driver of customer advocacy. This is nurturing your customers as genuine advocates. They're not being given discounts, they've got an emotional attachment to your brand and are willing to walk on water for you. It's no longer about the traditional account manager and sales. Customer advocates are where it's at in terms of driving growth. And if you're bringing all of the 10 elements we've talked about, you will be firmly on the road to sustainable business growth. So 1 year on, we're seeing some amazing examples of customer-led organisations.
So those organisations that can embark on a sea change are the ones that will be successful. Look at Zoom. It's a near perfect example of a company that's adopted the sea change. Their growth has been absolutely phenomenal. And one could argue that it's actually the pandemic that has accelerated that growth. Of course, that's had a massive effect. But even before COVID, Zoom were incredibly successful. So, join us now today in this movement, on this sea change, and drive sustainable growth in your organisation.
Thank you, Chris and Daniel. With their presentation in mind, listen out in the conference sessions for the critical growth drivers from culture to customer advocacy. So thank you for attending. Now, let's join the main conference.